TNCs play a very important role in how superpowers or emerging superpowers maintain their influence. But there are two key types of transnational corporation. You've got privately owned ones, Nestle, obviously, a big Swiss TNC, Apple, another example of a huge TNC. But then there are some that are either completely owned by the state, or at least partly owned by the state. Gazprom, the Russian gas company, General Motors, the American car company. What sort of implications does that have if a company is either wholly or partly owned by a government? What are some more examples of these? So they are very, very important. They can exert influence economically, culturally, and therefore increasing their status. Now, there's all sorts of different examples of transnational corporations, hundreds and hundreds that I'm sure we could all think of. What I'd like you to do is a little bit of research and just look at the top 10 companies in the world. How much profit do they make? What's their market value? What country are they from? And then just bring some of that together. What are the main industries? What countries have got the most TNCs? How will these countries influence superpower status? If you look at the notes section below the PowerPoint as well, there's a little bit more information to get you thinking about there. Very important key definitions: public traded TNCs, state-owned TNCs that we very briefly mentioned at the beginning here. And then just get some of those questions into your notes. Which are going to be the most well known? China. Which type of TNC is mostly apparent in that country? The form of capitalism. How do TNCs ensure dominance? And what are some of the criticisms of TNCs? So the roles of TNCs are basically it's about connections, economic, social, cultural, and political. Okay, if we think about the clothes that we wear, if we think about the food that we eat, okay, if we think about the fact that there's something called glocalization that we thought about in year 12, the types of, McDonald's is a great example. Okay, McDonald's in Australia will sell stuff that is not found in any other country. It's very culturally specific to Australians. The key fact is that about 400 of the world's largest TNCs originate from only 7 countries. Okay, so the ability for a country, a superpower or a developing superpower, to use their TNCs to exert their influence is great. So, notes from page 148, 149 about TNCs. Compare TNC from emerging superpower of the USA in terms of its impact on global culture, and which superpower is more influential through their TNCs, do you think? Okay, so there's a little bit of information there, a bit more in the notes section as well to get you thinking about those key points. Reverse colonization. This is an important concept that TNCs play a key role in. Part of sort of neo-colonialization as well. A great example of this is in India, where you've got Tata, a huge Indian transnational corporation, buying up what used to be quite successful, particularly British companies. So Land Rover and Range Rover is owned by Tata, for instance. So it's a really interesting example of how the BRICS are starting to exert themselves in the 21st century. Then, if you feel like it, have a go at this 20-mark question. Remember, 4-part structure. Direct versus indirect super, how has it changed over time? Okay, think theories, think key terms, think of evidence and examples as well. And there's a little bit of a mark scheme there for you to have a look at. I'd suggest that you don't look at that whilst you're doing the question, though. Try and pull everything from your own work and from your own brain. Now, Kondratiev cycles are quite an interesting concept. These are basically cycles of technological advancement and innovations. Okay, so obviously the Industrial Revolution was an upturn in Kondratiev cycles. The Second World War meant that a lot of different inventions were made. The automobile industry has gone through various cycles as well. So all it's basically saying is that at regular times throughout history, we have these cycles of innovation. They're called Kondratiev cycles. Quite an interesting thing to use, potentially in a 20-mark question.